Did you vote? I sure hope you did, whoever's watching, but what if I told you that all of your information and political preferences is not just public information, but it's part of an entire market of buying and selling your voter data? In the United States, voting security is seen as vital, not just to prevent voting fraud, but to ensure voters are protected and guaranteed privacy in the voting booth. Unfortunately, this is far from reality. Let's talk about the dark side of voting. The 2000 election between Al Gore and George W. Bush was a tight race, coming down to a recount in Florida, most of the controversy surrounding the recount of punch card ballots.
You should know that after a long night of swing votes, the presidential race is frankly still too close to call.
In response, Congress passed the Help America Vote Act, which created a new balloting system, as well as a single, uniform, digital statewide voter registration list with the maintenance and security left to each individual state. These voter records are composed of the information of each voter's registration form, which can include their name, address, phone number, previous election history, method of voting, email addresses, and more. Who you vote for is still secret, but whether you cast a ballot and the information related to that ballot is not. Because there's no federal regulation, many states distribute this voter data to those that request it. In Alabama, counties can choose to make voter data available to others, and the only information of yours that's protected is your social security number and date of birth, meaning your registration information and where you live is public, unless you claim you're a victim of domestic violence, which will only hide your address. This isn't just Alabama. Arkansas is similar. Kentucky allows any citizen to inspect or make copies of registration records. Tennessee grants not just registration data, but all voting history with only the social security number protected to anybody wanting the data for political purposes. For just $300, any individual can purchase the entire Connecticut voter roll and receive the names, addresses, birth dates, phone numbers, political party affiliations, and voting histories of thousands of voters. Most other states have similar problems, but not quite all. California requires granular information about the person you're looking for before getting their data, unless you're a political organization using the data for political reasons. Hawaii imposes similar requirements, as does Nevada. Massachusetts is another strong state. These simple steps make it difficult to get into the system and view every registered voter's information without knowing a lot about them already. However, even these states still sell voter data to some extent. But what does selling data look like? And most importantly, why should you care? You've likely received text messages, emails, and flyers at your house. This isn't just spam, it's methodically done based on your data and who you are to help swing your vote. The first and most important issue is that of democracy. Allowing two major parties to buy data and swing voters towards particular candidates is a large amount of control. Aside from this, democracies function best when voter participation is high. Unfortunately, with voter records, campaigns can carefully target those with extensive histories and avoid the groups with lower turnout rates, which tend to be the poor and young. The selective targeting means America's voting participation rates tend to remain steady at roughly 60% in presidential elections. As a former field director explained, "We have skipped many doors and missed entire families because the data experts didn't have addresses or phone numbers for poor people, young people, people of color, or people who moved." If campaigns were restricted from accessing voter data, they may be forced to target everybody, expanding voter turnout and avoiding creepily targeted campaigns. Speaking of creepy campaigns, in a Washington Post article, the journalist Jeffrey Fowler revealed the Republican National Committee told them they have more than 3,000 data points on every voter. The Democratic National Committee didn't give a number, but it said it has enough to understand you as a person, including unique identifiers from your phone that can be used to target ads across different applications. In recent years, both parties have been utilizing commercial data brokers, social media, and smartphone tracking techniques to target voters individually. Last but not least, the current presidential administration has pushed to get public voter registration records from all 50 states, only 24 of which complied, and the ACLU sued the Election Commission by citing voter suppression fears. This isn't a right or left issue. Any administration who can make a good guess for who voted for them gives them an unprecedented amount of power, allowing them to figure out Who voted against them? It's a pretty scary thought. Democracy aside, let's talk about you. In 2016, 26 million Americans were victims of identity theft, and one way to gain your information is from government-certified voter data. Lots of this is publicly available, as we've discussed, but even when it's not, issues can still arise. In 2017, 40 million voter records, more than 10% of the entire US, went public on the dark web, including names, voter IDs, birthdays, voter statuses, party affiliations, residential addresses, and other details. In 2015, 6 million Georgians had their social security numbers, driver's license numbers, and other personal information from voting records distributed to 12 organizations in an unauthorized fashion. A Washington Post author wrote they tried accessing all 50 states' online voting registration systems and was able to obtain personal information about the citizens of 40 of the states. North Carolina provided the most amount of information of its 7 million voters by publicly handing over every voter's name, address, voting status, registration number, party, race, ethnicity, registration date, polling place, and a complete voting record. This all has huge implications. If you are a previous or future victim of domestic abuse, you are risking a lot just to vote. If you've ever been or will be a victim of identity theft, voting might have been how it was possible. If you receive countless letters in the mail and a ridiculous amount of phone calls and texts during election season, goddamn I hate those, registering to vote was how that happened. If you love the United States, you can't deny the lack of privacy is harmful to our democracy. The amount of risks and negative consequences that come along with simply voting is just astonishing. So, what can we do? Lucky for us, the theoretical solution is a pretty simple one: a federal statute. While states can take the initiative, as California and others have, a federal requirement will impact all 50 states. Charles Pulse has introduced a simple method that would take 3 major things into consideration. 1. General restrictions on accessibility, including who can access the data and what the data can be used for. 2. The establishment of a mandatory address confidentiality program, which by default excludes previous domestic violence victims. It also makes it easier for people to opt out of having their address publicly available. 3. Minimum data security requirements. As of today, there are virtually no requirements over voting data in each state. A new federal statute could provide more funding for states to upgrade their cybersecurity programs surrounding data storage. This is all theoretical though, so what can you, the viewer who's watching this video, do today? Well, ironically, vote for people who take this seriously. Read into the politicians you're voting for and see if they talk about voter privacy. Donate to organizations like the ACLU and the EFF, who are fighting for privacy in the legal system. And finally, educate the people around you. Most people don't know how broken voter privacy is. If you want to educate them without even saying a word, send them this video and let us do it for you. Privacy is not a right or left problem. It's simply a right. Once privacy is gone, there's no getting it back, and that's what those in power want to happen. Don't let them take that away from you. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you liked this video, you know what to do. Thanks as always to our patrons. You can support us on Patreon or Ko-fi down in the description, and check out our other content to learn about privacy and security. Thank you all, and see you next time.